Hello and welcome back to Evening Rust. Yesterday we were competing in, I forgot the name of it, some sort of optimization, the banker one. And we actually got the chance to apply for a job, and I actually went off and did it today because I had a few minutes and I just clicked all the buttons, and we'll see if we get invited anywhere for a wonderful knapsack packing problem. I'm going to do a quick post-mortem on where we are on that today and where we left it off. And then we're going to move on to day 2, Thor, back to Thor. We knew about Thor from before, and we're going to do a golf this time. And not because I think we can do well in Rust, but I noticed that each of the golf ones has a different category per language. Not the clash of the code, but each of the individual golf ones does. So that'll be helpful there. And it's also going to force us to learn some of the smaller behaviors of Rust. So we're going to have to force our way through things like map and zip and fold, hopefully, to pack down our code. So we have a bit. I played one golf clash today, and I actually did surprisingly well. I have no access to the code anymore. It's gone. Lasts forever. Hello, Droid Base, and welcome to the show. I did a bunch of Clash of Codes today already because I had a few minutes, so I'm not going to start the show with one of them. We were doing rather well. Finished a lot of them. My rank's not going... And apparently I finished just another one of them. Thank you, Black Copy, for the follow. And before I get started, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a... Actually, I'm going to copy over my wonderful ads here, just so we get some more people in them. Don't do it every show. I don't know why not. Maybe you don't want to spam the people. Just see if there's anybody new there. And we'll see what we can get, because we're going to make it interesting. So the golf, I say, the idea is not, we're going to try and just see how much we can push it. I'll say tonight there and today on the other one. That's good. And I'm going to do a quick recap of where we were. If you're new to the show, we're just learning Rust. We're just doing a bunch of Rust. We're still not good at this. And if you see some of my shows, you'll see the level of frustration that I have sometimes. We're trying to work through that. If you know Rust and you can help, great. If you have questions, I can answer as much as I can. I can usually explain the algorithms. I can't necessarily explain the Rust. So where were we at yesterday? We had, under optimization, we were trying to improve it, and we had the great dispatch. I actually went a bit further than I went yesterday. So if we look at the scores, where we were yesterday was at 0.036 or something. We ended the show yesterday way at 0.034 right here, and we did a lot of work to get it here. We did a lot of work to get it down to this size. And what I did this morning is I actually looked at it and I thought, well, there's some memory issues here. There's a lot of wasted loops. I didn't fundamentally change the algorithm. I just sped up a core part of it and got us all the way down to this best time of 0.14, which is like less than half the time, which is a really nice improvement. And then I let it run again just recently, and we got 0.143. If I just let it run a whole bunch, I'm sure we could tweak out a bit more, but that's not so helpful. We don't care about that. And that puts us at number 76. So we're up to 76. And one of the big things we had coming from the show yesterday was Rust is running in debug mode, and that makes our code really, really slow. And so what I did, though, is I checked with this new code. I said, well, what if we didn't have that? What if we were running on release and we had infinite time? So I took my code, compiled it in release locally, and then run for like 10 minutes. Now the issue is that we got obviously a lot better. I mean, that 0.1 became 0.001. It was like a lot faster. But that's still not good enough to make it to the top of the leaderboards. So if we look at the leaderboards, you'll see we're going to need 4 zeros in front. 3 zeros is pretty good, but we're going to need all 4 of those zeros. And that means we're going to have to improve the strategy somehow. But it gets us pretty high. I'm assuming we can, with a little bit of speed, we could probably get to around here, but there's no way we can do that in debug mode. But in debug mode, we should at least be able to, given the top speed, we should at least be able to get quite a bit higher than 79. But I'm not going to try that now. We need to optimize it. But let me just show you what I did. And it's not that difficult. I'm on my cheat sheet. and lots more variation so I can run this command line. I put the time parameter so I can run it locally at a different speed. And where do we have, the biggest thing I changed was I made a new, we had a find swap before, a find end swap, and I rewrote how find end swap works. Find end swap now, it starts with these lists, and it starts with a set now, so it's using a set and then not using vectors. And it goes to the loop 50 times, and ignore this first bit. And each time in the loop, it adds one random crate from each truck that it's testing. And it online keeps track of the weight and volume so that as we have these vectors, we don't continually run through the loop. We just keep track of the current weight and volume, and then we do the delta on each one. Whenever we identify one, then we convert it to vectors. I'm assuming this could be faster with bit sets, but they appear to be experimental, not supported anymore in Rust, so I don't know how to get a bit set, but this set's pretty good. All these little numbers I've tweaked and stuff, and I also did a bunch of stats on it. So when we went to swap trucks, the one where we have the move matching has a limiter now, because beyond like 10 iterations it does nothing anymore, and I let it run forever and it didn't find anything more. But this, thank you very much, Ion Codes. I'm gonna bookmark them for later, and I'm not going to use them today because I want to come back to it. I want to do the golf thing today. But that's exactly the next step in my wrap-up that I said we're going to actually have to do is the combinations. So I'll bookmark this so we're definitely going to use this. And because what I said is happening is that even though I have these optimizations, and this I want to say first, this find swap is still necessary. It's super fast, but the key thing is what's the difference between find swap and find end swap is find swap actually does a one-to-one comparison between all the crates in both trucks, whereas find end swap is random. And what Ion Codes posted is the combinations that we actually need. Combinations are going to be, let's iterate through all the combinations of 1, 2, 3, and 4 crates and find them, and that's definitely required to get higher in the charts. But what I did find interesting, because Euler Schutzal mentioned that he only goes up to 4, is this little bit of code here in my random thing. In the end swap, what I have here is that every 12 iterations of this loop, I clear the cases, so we start over, so we're not swapping like 8 versus 8 crates. But 12 is quite high. This means we can actually get up to a 6 versus 6 crate swap. And what I found very curious when I was doing this is that this actually helps. If I put it down to 10, the results get worse. If I put it down to 8, the results get worse. Which means there are cases where swapping 4x4 is still not good enough, where you actually need to get down to a 6x6 swap to actually get a better result. And that's pretty extreme. And the problem with that is there's no way you're going to be able to iterate that. And so while there are some that may be helpful, the combinations are more than likely going to give us a better result. And so that's where I'm going to leave this for now. And I'm going to come back to this again because before we can go a bit further in this, I'm going to have to learn a bit more about Rust because a lot of the overhead we have now is not necessarily our algorithm. It's a lot of creation stuff, like the creation of these sets. And I have to find better ways to do this. And I'm going to have to find how to do the profiling on these things. And we have a lot of stuff we want to do, so I want to come back to this. We're going to leave it at a current rate for now. And today I want to play around with golf. And we're going to do cargo for that. We're going to do Thor golf. And so let's see where we are. So like I say, we're at 76, which is okay. Not a lot of people have done the Great Dispatch for some reason. I don't know why that is. It's a very low number. And maybe people just don't like it. But let's go back and go back again. And we're going to do this one, Thor. And Thor is a little puzzle. It's a very simple puzzle. And you just have to guide the guy over to it. It has some graphics. We're going to see them in a little bit. And when you do golf, what I'm going to do is, we did this in practice as well, so I'm going to go take our existing code and just copy it over because I think it says it's the same puzzle, so it might just save us a little bit of time to use the existing code and laugh at what we wrote before because it may not be so good. So if you notice, we completed all the easy ones before, and Thor was one of them. Was there a Thor episode 2? There might have been. Let's see, was there a second Thor? I don't recall a second Thor. Were they planning on having a second Thor? That's why it's called episode 1? But we never did episode 2. So we're going to start. We're going to take the code from the first one. And where was that again? Completely lost it. But we're going to copy the code around. Let's view my solution. Rust. Okay, we're going to copy this a bit. And I hope that's I'm going to stick it in a temporary file, because sometimes you lose the copying when you exit stuff. I really hate that sometimes when you copy something and you close the program and then it's lost in the clipboard. It forces this pattern of having to keep all these windows open just in case something clears the clipboard. And I hated that pattern. I know where it came from in Windows version when I first did like Win3.1 coding. It was because the program actually owned the memory for the clipboard and the other program would copy from it, but it was just kind of annoying. And we continue with it. I mean, just put the whole thing on the clipboard. I wish my clipboard would just persist regardless of which programs are using it. Alright, so let's go back to compete now, and we're going to do again golf today. Get code. The first thing we have to do is just get it working though. This has been done by, wow, 19,000 people. I doubt very many of them have used Rust. But the following progress, you notice they have a whole bunch here. And I'm not quite sure whether these are independent ranks or not. That's what I'm not sure on. I just don't know. Euler-Schützel is obviously in all of them. He chose not to do C, or the one language does do C, or Pascal or C++, but he did do Rust here at the bottom, and that must be, I don't know if this is across all of them or not. We're going to find out. We're just going to go start solving it and find out. Okay. We're just going to try the code we had from before. First off, I'm going to set up the external editor, which means I have to turn off my Foxy proxy. Unfortunately, I haven't figured out how to configure it yet to not use the proxy. Okay, and we're going to... Alright, we have to create the project first. Let's go over to here. And I had the project set up. I think it's cargo... No, not there. Cargo, new, Thor, bin, BCS, none. Because it loves Git, and it sets up Git repositories by default, which is kind of annoying. So there we have it. And so we have the source there, so we're just going to hook it up here, select the file, /source, that's coding game, and Thor, source, main RS. Alright. And we're going to download the ID to the file because we don't have anything in the file yet. And we're going to take all of this that we had here. We're going to open that file wherever it was. I have two called Evening Rust and Coding Game. I don't know why I have two directories. And so this is their default one. We're just going to get rid of it. Go away. And hope it's the same. So we'll save this. And let's see if the code we had before actually wins the thing, or it fails on us. Alright, so you can see him up here. Let's put him full screen. So let's just play all the tests, and then let's see what happens to it. We just want to make sure it works. Before we start golfing this down, we're just going to make sure that our test actually works. I don't know what happened last time. Maybe he lost or failed, or it just quickly went away. It's a bit weird. Okay, now did we actually success? Okay, so we passed all of them. So that would be our kind of baseline here. And let's just submit the baseline. So we have a point of working from. This is basically what we had in the original code. So we're just going to submit the baseline and see what happens. Alright, so we have the next step. We have that, and no, I didn't mean to leave it because that breaks our connection with the file. Let's go back there. Let's find it again. Code golf. There it is. Power Thor. And let's solve this thing. So truth size. And where does it actually put us in the leaderboard? I'm curious. Hopefully right at the bottom. There's no way we can't be right at the bottom. Okay, and this is combined between languages, so we're at 19,000. There's like a handful of people that are lower than us, But I thought these were separated languages, but that's okay. We don't care. We're actually going to, let's see what we have for other languages. Let's see if there's anybody else, what else Rust we have to see what we're up against. 175, wow. So, and he's at 6,000, so it tells you that's a real problem in this language to do, but 175, that's going to be tough. So let's see what we can do in any case. We can do all the obvious stuff first. We're not going to remove white space until the very end. That's like the last step, because even at 175, that's not really a big issue. We don't need print error. We obviously don't need these codes. And right every time I save, you can look. Oh, I forgot to connect the editor again. Upload file ID. You can see the code size in the corner as it gets smaller, 1885. And we'll get rid of all this parse input stuff afterwards. Thor's here. We're just going to get rid of all these comments. We don't need them. The game loop, we're fine with that. And get rid of these. We're going to have to really pack this down a bit. So just cleaning up the simple stuff brings us down to 1589, which is still not very good. We have to get tiny. This collect here, apparently we don't need to do this. The inputs we could just do, I think, and since we know we're working, I'm actually going to write, oh, we can't see the test cases. Huh. Well, kind of sucks. We might want to emit those, because we might want to run them locally, or we'll just see what happens. I'd really like to run some tests on it. And, oh well, whatever, let's just worry about that. So parse input, this is the one I've not been able to figure out how to break this thing down and other things all over the place. This input string line, we can simplify this here by doing something simple like input line dot clear. There's no reason to create a new one. Thor never goes north. That's almost cheating. Alright, we'll deal with it. Actually, my solution, I don't think it's going to make a very big difference. It's going to just, it actually might make it harder because I have to worry about this vector. But, Thor never, that's just sad. Okay, well, we'll worry about that. If we have to squeeze a few bytes off later, we can probably take advantage of that. And okay, so we have this, we have size. The most obvious thing that parse input is we can make a macro out of this. Now what I'm guessing is because these macro rules, and we haven't figured this out yet, you can stick multiple macros in the same one of the same name, and that'll save some code, and we'll do that later, but let's stick different ones right now. Yeah, first off we can do, actually what I want to do first is if we say get rid of these inputs, if we do a split and just don't collect, we just do inputs.next. Is this going to complain to me that I don't have... And let's just go run this over here, although I should compile it in the other one. Trim. Alright, this is probably an unwrap then. And so let's just give it inputs, so we don't have to worry about it. Whatever we're going to do, we're going to do it in all of them anyways. And parse input, input line. Alright, that might be an issue down there. We have two different versions of input. So let's make two of them for now. Make PI, quickly one, PI. We'll call this one PI. And this is obviously, this isn't clean code style of any kind. We're golfing now, and as sort of a therapeutic effect of trying to use Rust the correct way, we're just going to try and pack it down to a tiny way now. And so x.next probably .unwrap, it probably has to be unwrapped. And I'm just going to compile it in this code here too. Cargo Oh, we gotta be in the right place. Cargo build. Alright, so at least we see the errors here, and again, we're doing this because it's too slow on coding thing. Trim. What? This macro based. Parse input line. I probably never saved it. That's probably the reason why it's weird. Get clear in cargo build. Okay, so that's a bit better. Cannot borrow mutably. Why are you trying to borrow it? It's really weird. It's a macro. Why is it trying to borrow a macro in the macro? Oh, because it's not. That's right there, right there. Okay, got it. Ah, it's probably all the same error. Input line.clear is also borrows mutable. That's fine. We can stick these in brackets, and we'll clean up these brackets afterwards. Oh, we can't do that. We need to. There must be a way we can end the borrowing. That's what I'd like to learn. Is how would I mark the section saying that borrowing is here done? I'm done with inputs here, and you get rid of it. Yeah, I was thinking of doing that next. Let's just do that directly then. How exactly do I do that? But I want to get them into the variables. So that's okay. So line input line dot splits, and we don't even need that. So let's do it that way. Map s dot trim. We're going to take this from average dot parse dot unwrap. And we're not going to use the collect because we want to actually do a next on it. Or actually, wait, we just do a collect. And for now, we're going to map them, but later we're actually going to put them back to the actual values. I guess parse needs to have a type, though. It's parsing, doesn't it? Parsing needs a type somehow. I don't know how. Or maybe not. It doesn't know the type. This has to be parse I32. I think. Why isn't it like this? Doesn't like what that is. It doesn't know that this is a vector. Which kind of sucks. Why does it not know it's not a vector there? Must be known in this context. It is known. It's a split line of parse 32's unwrapped. Is this like this then? Collect vec I32? Expected I size. Wait, did I call these all I size before? Let's just put them all back down. I32 is short anyways. We had this discussion on a previous show about using I size versus I32. Personally think I32 is wrong, but the rest community thinks that I32 is correct. So, alright, so that compiles, and we've got a little bit more. Since we did this, let's play all the test cases again to make sure you still solve some, not that we've made a mistake. We don't want to take too long to go back, and you can watch them solve it up there. We'll make this part as small as we can. Alright, so we look to be good here. And we got the code size down a little bit more. But before we submit again, let's do it a bit even more, because this is a little bit too much here. So we don't use this. We don't have this parsing rule at all. We have the other parsing input, which could probably be reduced as well. Since we only parse one thing now, we can simply do input line. What is it actually parsing? The remaining amount of turns Thor can move. We don't even use that, do we? We do not use it, so we don't even have to read in the rest of this stuff. We don't care how much Thor can move because we're doing the optimal approach anyways. Let's just make sure that doesn't break it if we don't read anything in. I can't see how that would break it, but that certainly saves some code. So we don't even use parse input anymore. That saves some even more code. I don't know how to get rid of stuff like this. This is a big deal how we're going to get rid of these things here. We don't use the result of this read line, so I guess we can get rid of that as well. See if it still works. I think it still works, so we should be fine. We should get split that. And like I say, changing the variable names down to something smaller is something we can probably do a lot later. But we're going to pack these inputs down. With this vector here, well, let's just pack it down a bit more first. As Euler-Schützel said, because he never goes north, we could probably actually remove one line of this, but I really want to do that as a last resort because it feels like cheating, but they're not going to change the code on us, so. Okay, and so this is the case here. We can do step X. We can simply modify these a lot here as well. We don't have to do these multiple steps, so step X is equal to, probably don't even need the I32. We can simply say current X is less than light X. There's probably a sign function we can use that does this better as well. And that should work there. And the exact same thing will approach to step Y. As long as I didn't break anything. Oh, I broke something. It's weird. What did I break? Current Y is less than Y, step Y equals 1. Well, let's keep this here and go back and see if we're still in the right place. Okay, so we broke something there. I say we, I mean I broke something. You guys didn't break anything, but I'm going to say that anyways. Makes it sound more inclusive, I would say we. Okay, so what did I do wrong here? I'm going to change the indent as well to save some. Here we go, that saves some spaces as well. Saves a lot of spaces, so there's tabs, a lot of spaces there gone. So if current X is less than Y, then step X, step Y. So what's different about this? Step X equals 1, else. Aha, because I have a 0 case. I see. If they're equal to it. So now let's see if Rust has a sign function. What I want to do is I just want to check the sign of it, and I'm hoping it returns plus, negative, or 0. Sign. Signum. Okay, that's exactly what I want. I want signum. Because what's let step X then is because let step X equal current X minus light X. If it's less than, it returns. I think we have to do this backwards. Light X minus current X. Dot signum. And let's comment this out and then see if this actually still works for that. Where are we back here? We're on the wrong page. Alright, so that's still working. So the signum's going to cut out a lot of that code. Let's do the same thing for Y. step y equals light y minus current y, and we get rid of all of this. And we don't even need this current x anymore either, I think. Oh no, it is right here. So that's still working, and we've reduced it a lot since the beginning one. Let's see where 680 puts us on the scoreboard. See how pitiful we still are. So we were at number 19,000 before, pretty much 20,000. And where are we up to now? Doesn't really say. Still computing. And once it's done computing, it'll tell us where we are. Or we can check the leaderboard as well. Alright, now sounds good, edA-qa, so we're going to do that right away. Alright, so we jumped up 5,000, and, you know, good enough. So, if I annotate this right here, you're saying I can remove all of this. I don't even need to say how to collect it. Let's find out if let's find out if Rust agrees. Rust agrees with you, so thank you very much, edA-qa. That makes it a bit smaller. Now let's take care of this. The step X, this stuff here is use size, dir index. Obviously we don't need this dir index. We can just simply take this and stick it down here. Just reduce the variable completely. And let's do some of the obvious minifications here because these are very local, so we don't get distracted by this yet. And we're going to pack these into a structure as well, because if we pack them into like a tuple, we can save a lot of typing. I don't know if we can get rid of this as use size. That's kind of an issue. Uh-oh. Oh, because we did something wrong. CX, yeah. Alright, so we're still fine with that. Before we reduce the names more, let's see if we can do some structural changes. These inputs could obviously be reduced a lot more. We can get rid of all of this stuff here. Light X, we don't need the initial TX at all. That's very interesting. So we don't even need that. We don't keep track of the initial one. So let's get rid of that. And so we can replace step, like this is where I mean we can use tuples here. We're going to use less step be a tuple of this. It makes it actually a bit longer to reference it because now you have S0 and S.1, but I think overall that's a shorter code. Okay, so we're still good now. Alright, so we pack this down, and I wonder if there's a way to do a map on this to make this even smaller, but let's worry about that later. But signum is going to be an issue. We have the loop there, that's fine. We can't reduce loop, I think. What structurally can we still do? The inputs, we have the 4 inputs. And I wonder if I can actually collect this a bit more. Can I collect into a tuple? Can I say like collect 4? Okay, so let's do this. So this is the next step, obvious one. Remove the inputs, and I'm now going to call it in instead. Actually, that's going to be bad. I'm going to say Q. I like Q. And so light X, I hate this. Okay, because that would save a lot. So right now, light X is going to become Q0. Q0, and light Y is going to become Q1. Welcome back, ion codes. We're going to quite small, and CX is going to become Q2, and CY is going to become Q3. So Q3. I want to know if I can collect into a tuple. So I don't have to have a vector. Can I just assign 4 values to a tuple? So you don't think so either. Great. You guys aren't helpful. Just kidding. And so I broke something here. Whoops, I put a character in the wrong place. Let's compile it here. Inputs to, oh yeah, we're just getting rid of this. Hopefully we get this right. Alright, so let's just compile it again. Let's see where we are. And this is another significant reduction. I mean, it's not it's 200. That gets us that's like 30%. So we're going to submit this as well and see where we're doing in that. Rank is only 15,000, but we're going to have to start comparing to the Rust people. We haven't done the name reduction yet and the space reduction. I'm going to do that as a final thing. The moment we see that there's no structural stuff anymore, we'll do that. Code size 413. So let's just look at the Rust board. Rust. And so we're still not on the top list. We still have to scroll down. 413, there we are. We have to scroll down. At least we have to get in this top part. I think we'll easily get into this 300 range. That's not a problem. This 175, wow. There's some trick here. I don't think we're going to get there. But let's find out. Let's see how quick we can go. I'm going to save this. This is a kind of readable version still. So I'm going to commit this one as is. Git add.get status. And no, I don't want that. Where'd my... I didn't create my git ignores, so targets. We're going to add a git ignore. I'm not going to. I'm going to do it on. Actually, I know I can copy git ignore. We're going to do a cp dot dot. Actually, cp dot dot slash the great dispatch dot git ignore. Are we supposed to ignore the log files? I don't know. What's in the log file? Oh, we don't need to ignore that status. So, git commit, still almost same, kind of crappy, but that's okay. I just want to have this fallback point for when we ultimately screw it up. Now, we have these vectors, wonderful, wonderful, wonder main. The big thing is this stuff here. If anybody knows how we can read from a read line without this setup. This setup's pretty brutal. And it's like a hard limit. Like, I just don't know how we can get rid of this input lead line here. There must be a way to do it. I'm just not sure. This stuff, I don't think we could do anything about this. We have to trim it. Do we need to trim it? Let's find out if we don't trim it, if it still works. Just a random test. That'll save a few cases if we don't trim. No. So we do need to trim it, which is unfortunate. And unwrap. We probably have to unwrap it. We still have to collect it. And I'm just wondering what's this take you mentioned. What does take 4 do, ion codes? I'm going to look that up. See if somehow I can use that to make this smaller. Take. It never likes giving us examples of how to use this stuff. Your docs are very hard to read. There's no example of how to use it. rust take. See if there's some example somewhere. That doesn't really... I have really no idea what it's supposed to do. And the rest of the things about rust removal, which is actually technically what we're doing now. We're trying to remove rust. So maybe one of these other sites has an advantage. We'll buy some rust removal. I don't know what take does, so I don't know if I could use it. And this is going to be the big sticking point of the code right here, is this monstrosity. We don't know if we have a way to get rid of this. And is there a split white space maybe? Split white space? Because that might trim stuff a bit more. I think that's actually going to be... Split white space I think is going to be better because it's a bit longer, but I think we get rid of the trim then. Clear and card will build. Okay. So that won't really help us here, we think, right now. So clear white space might have been smaller. It's hard to say. Where were we? 413. No, it makes it one longer. That sucks. No, I can't believe that. That white space is so long of word, we're actually better off doing splitting on a space and doing a trim. That's sad. Such a really long word. And do we have any structural stuff left we can get rid of? And can we index directly into a vector? Like, I can get rid of this first of all, possibly. It doesn't help a lot, but we can get rid of the variable. And it still works. I just want to check something. Okay, no. So this makes it a little bit smaller. Does anybody know a shorter way to print? Can I print a line without having this little bit on it? Can I just print a string directly? Will this actually print directly? Expected a literal. Can I make that a literal somehow and avoid this little bit up here? Like, these are all literals, technically. No, it isn't like that. Okay, I'm just going to get rid of some spaces so we can see it in the side, not because I'm trying to reduce the size a bit. Alright, so... we're still okay. So we're still okay with that. What else could we reduce here? Q. There's got to be some sort of slicing stuff we can do here. To combine this a little bit, slice plus 1 plus 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 1. We don't structural, anything structured. So nobody has any options for this input line here. Is there any way to read a line in a functional approach? And this I find really weird from all the functional stuff they have, that why suddenly does read line take immutable input? Why can't I just read a line and get the return back? Because that'd obviously be smaller. And I wonder if, do we really need this I/O here? We apparently do. That's weird. Oops. We can put star here though. We just import everything. Yeah, I know, but yeah, clear. That'd be the clear way to do it. But I'm just wondering if there's a way to do it without. So you really have to do IO standard in. Huh. Okay, that's fine. We only have one IO, so it's not going to save much to do that. If there was some way we could do this without, to do it inline somehow, I don't know. Because I think we're running out of structural things. We have these two values. It's really unfortunate to see this little bit here. And well, let's check something. We might be able to do a for loop here. Git commit am stuff. Quite possibly a for loop might be smaller. So we're at 384. I'm just going to write this down so I don't have to compare it. 384, and then we can do this for I in 0.2. But we need S down here as well. Oh, So that's kind of sucks. How can we do that then? So the loop won't work because I need to use S again. So that breaks that idea. And I'm actually wondering if this is actually... We'll test one of the things is actually slower. If we do like S1, S2, S0, S1, if that ends up being shorter, I stupid committed it. Now we're going to have to put the brackets around it. I'm just going to see if this is shorter. But I think it's the same. 386, 384, so it's actually longer. So that makes it longer. Is there some way we could split this up a little bit? And how can we do this anyway a bit shorter than that? Minus Q3, minus Q3. I'm looking, is there anything else clever we can do? This is all boilerplate here. I don't know how that guy got down to 176, but he clearly knows something we don't. We can't do double indexing here. I'm thinking if we did the north and the east part separately, but this as-use size is going to kill us because we can't compare this to an as-use size. We have no choice but to do that cast there. And how else can we reduce that? I don't think we can. I'm running out of ideas before I actually do the horrible thing of just reducing all the lines down to like garbage. Well, let's do the input line first at least. I just call this I, and that gets us down to 357. Just not that much smaller. We have no more names that can get shorter, so we have no more names that can get shorter, which is kind of a problem. Best hieroglyphs would be fine if I can get hieroglyphs working. So I'm going to submit this again and see where we are. I just want to get at least in the first page of the top board. Let's put this back to Rust. Come on, it's computing my score. We're going to wait for this. We should be up here a bit. Okay, so we're at least in the first page. Of the Rust people, we're now, it looks like 10th or 11th. And we could still split off a little bit more, but that's only going to get us probably up to here. There's a big step into this one here, which Boulay is doing. They found some trick that we're not seeing, because from here, this guy is basically probably my code with all the spaces removed. Now we have to find some trick to get rid of this other stuff. And the big thing here is this read line. There must be some way that we can get rid of this. How can we possibly get rid of this read line? There must be another function to make this smaller, because this is a big chunk of code. And so I'm just trying to think of how we could possibly do that. This is also duplicated here, and I don't see a clear way to get rid of the duplication. And unless we do a macro, but the macro has so much overhead that we're probably not going to save anything. Spaces alone won't help. The trick with not moving north will save several characters. We'll use that right at the end. Oyler gave us that one. He says basically you never move north. And we can validate that right now by putting stars in. I'll just quickly verify the north idea. Okay, so we're going to get back to that one. That one's really sad. That'll give us some cleanup that he doesn't actually go north. Okay, set of buff read. Does that help? Can we get it smaller? Let's find out, Memorian, if this is actually smaller. So we're at 357. Standard IO buff read. Let's standard in IO goes that. And we really only need the first one now. So we should be able to do standard in dot lock dot lines dot first dot split. Is that the idea? Get rid of this. That makes this longer though, even if it does compile, that actually makes it longer. I don't think you need lock though. I was reading about that, it's not clear. We might not need this buff read. Yeah, that's why we need it. Let's see, lock. So we're missing some import here. So we need to do a use, and that's going to kill us. Adding a use is going to remove all gains we have. And it still doesn't like it though. It still says no first, which is weird. Why would the first not work? Any idea why this first is failing on us? Okay, so something's not working anymore then. Probably get rid of that. Now the first thing is the one that doesn't like standard IO lines. All right, let's try that. Line 0. Cannot index into value of type IO lines. Well, let's go figure out what that lines type is. An iterator. Okay, it's an iterator. Next. We can do next unwrap. Last. There's no first. It has a first. It has a count and next. I thought iterators have a first though. Oh, well, let's take yeah, because now we're going to have to, if we want to do this, we're going to have to do .next.unwrap. Oh, and that makes it long again. Alright, this is nth. Why is this a result type? Some of these have extra. One of these must be a result type as well. Unwrap, unwrap. It's getting silly. I don't know if we need a check of land without the lock. No. If I need this, what's going to happen is I think we're too long again. 354 would still technically be shorter, but we're not. We'll need another unwrap here somewhere. I don't know why we need the unwrap here, but temporary value borrowed here. Temporary value dropped while still borrowed. Okay, so we can't do that. Yeah, nth return's an option, but this is an option wrapped in an option. I have to do an unwrap, unwrap, but it's still not working. And if I have to add any more characters, we haven't gained an advantage because our current score is 357, so we're already getting bigger. So this is not getting bigger, this is getting bigger. So it does not look like it's going to give us a better result because it's actually getting bigger and it's still not working. I wonder, can you do this here without using the U's? Oh, you can! So that saves a few characters, wonderful. Not a lot. But we're still killed by this thing here. And how can we get that simpler? So there's some fundamental thing we have to get over. I'm trying to figure out what we have. So we're going to get down to like low 300s by removing the space, but that's obviously not enough. Somebody got down to 200. So there's some trick in here somewhere. Like there's some trick to remove a big chunk of it. How much is this chunk here? Somebody got rid of basically that entire chunk, and we don't know how. That's about the size of code we have. We have to remove almost half the code to get higher up there. The loop, I don't think we can get rid of the loop, can we? No. There's no way to make it smaller. The signum, even if we duplicated half of this, does this actually save us a lot? Yeah. Oh. That's really not fair. Just doing a system called a bash, that's kind of lame. Okay, I don't really want to do that approach. I'm going to stick with it. Even if that is going to be the best approach, I want to see if there's a rustier approach. And so the thing is, I really love this one because this comes up in Code Golf all the time. In the Code Golf I did today, it was this bit here at the start which killed me as well, that if I just can't get rid of this. Is there any other way to read input from the input? And that's because this trim, parse, unwrap, collect, this is all very verbose. And this is why other languages can kill it, because other languages basically, this is like a one-word thing to basically split and parse all this stuff, or just use dynamic typing here. Now, does it really need this? Can it not figure out now what type this is? Yeah, no. Okay, that's a vec, that's a vec. Don't have a lot to get rid of now. The last resort, like I say, I don't want to go to last resort yet because that means making the code unreadable. I'm guessing that's the same thing. It doesn't know what type it is. Right? It just doesn't know what type it is. That's why we have to put the I32, because it doesn't know what type it is. We could do I8, which is shorter. That saves us one character. And because of the size of the board, I'm guessing that'll still work. The board is never that big. I think it even has the constraints in here. Yeah, this is totally, we could totally do that. It saves us just one character though. So it's not really that big of a savings. But hey, one character is one character. Which makes me think though that we could convert probably a lot of this stuff here. What if I just do as I8 and convert the character? Is this shorter? It is shorter, but there's no first. Why is first not there anymore? So this was an idea. Because we know it's only... she's not going to work. Just forget about it. It's still going to be an integer, so I have to get that bigger. And that trim is pretty awful. Collect, parse, unwrap. I don't see anything there we can get rid of. Split is the tiniest thing we have. I is the tiniest. We have no names that are shorter than this. Signum. We have the duplication here. I'm not clear on how to do that. And let's check out what can we, I don't want to do the final step of just reducing it. Q2 is bigger than... Can we split off a vector into a tuple? Like, could we actually do something like Q1 coming to Q2 coming Q3 coming Q4? Probably not, huh? No, nothing like that. I don't see anything else. I think we're dead stuck with this. The only thing we do is remove all the white space. Let's ask if Euler's Result is still there. Did you actually use some sort of bash trick, or did you find an actual Rust trick in your solution to get this trick simplified? You don't have to tell me what it is, but did you actually keep it in Rust, or did you do something weird? Rust, read line from standard in. Well, you sort of... Okay, let me look at that in a bit. So, yeah. He's taking advantage of the fact that he never goes north. And so if you have two print statements for south, you can simply print south maybe first, otherwise print east. Yeah, there is definitely taking advantage of something there, so we can reuse that. But let's see if this tuple approach gets us smaller. And well, can we just do take on here directly because it's an iterator? Take 4. I just want to see if this can compile first of all. Let's say Q0, 1, 2, 3. These would both be mutable. This might actually be longer then because of that. Let's see if it actually... Did you mean... Well, we're going to see. This might actually be a tad bit shorter. We don't know yet. We have to put that double mut, which is the problem. Expected struct take... Oh, come on. Private field on a method. So we can't... The taking's not working. Would it actually be shorter? I don't know if it's actually shorter. We're going to have to, like... If we have to put this iter here, it's not going to be shorter. 342 would be shorter. I have no idea. Whichever one's on... well, I can check on my command line. 1.21. I think that's the one they're using online as well, or 1.10 or something. Just trying to figure out where this just tell road is a hint to us. Yeah, I understand that. I got it now. I know what we're doing here. Oh, so you okay? I know what Euler Chisel is doing the thing there. Thanks a lot. Goats. That's definitely going to reduce our goat size. Alright, so let's take the next step. I'm going to take it git commit. Pre-cheat. And if Euler Chisel is correct that we never go north, we're going to actually take that approach because that actually definitely solves. Because this direction is just not used. Neither is this one. Neither is this one. And we're just going to verify this works first of all, and then we can actually see it's totally cheating. And that'll reduce it. And that's a nice observation. And so that'll actually cheat. That'll get us... That doesn't reduce it much, but knowing there's no north, I can definitely reduce this a lot more. Or not a lot more, a bit more, let's say. And we're... So that took us up a bit. That took us up a bit to the top of the people. And I'm just guessing CVX folks here. He's just not aware of that cheat that he doesn't go north. Because I'm willing to get, he has just a bunch of strings in there. And, well, let's just, I is, so this is shorter, dot into. That cuts off 4, which is good. Does it work? Okay, this is a good one I have to remember. Dot into is faster. And I use this a lot. I'm going to use that in a lot of code because every time I do golfing, I'm going to see that. So now what we have is we have to really extend this bit here. Okay, I got it now. I know it's... So what we have is this. Instead of Y, we have... If Q1... I've forgotten what that was. The target destination? What is that? The target destination? Q... It's greater than Q3. Which one was initial and target anymore? I don't know. Current is Q3. So that must be target. So Q1 is greater than Q3, then we do print south Q3 plus equals 1. And this works because we never go north, and so we can trim this off now and say like this, just get rid of the north consideration. And this just does south now. This only has to take care of west and east. So west and east. So this just says S0 plus 1, and we can simplify this even more if it works. I forgot to compile it first. Let's check I got a mistake there. So there is no more S0, that's just S, that's correct, S. That actually compiles, so that actually gets it. So Euler should solve, that's his idea that you don't go north. That's the key trick into reducing this even more. Which means the test cases are insufficient, and I can't believe they don't have that. And for golf, that's like a critical cheat, but okay, I don't care. So we're down to 295. We've broken 300. And now we can get this even smaller. Q2. How do we get this even smaller? We have all those prints. We got it. Hello, Studio C. We're playing golf with Rust. It's not very wise, but we've got it. If you have any ideas how to get rid of this junk at the top, we'd be very happy because nobody knows how to get rid of that. And the rest of it, we're cheating. We don't go north in Thor. And so we're reducing this a lot more. And we're trying to see if we can get this even further. I can probably just do another if here. I wonder if I can replace this with a match. Let's see if a match is going to be shorter. Print line match this. I somehow doubt it's going to be shorter. No, this is already looking longer. Because this would be Q2 minus equals 1, and then we'd have west. But this definitely looks longer already. There's no point continuing this. This is too long. S plus 1, WWWE. Alright, how can I, any more else I can shorten this a bit? How else can I shorten this? We're down to 295. Let's just make sure it runs again, and we're going to submit it and see where we are. We still haven't reduced the white space, but that's not going to buy us a lot. That buys us only like 8-9 characters. So what our last score was 343, so 295 is a good increase, but let's put it back down to Rust, see where we are. Asabulat, actually, we're right at the place where Euler Schitzal is. So actually, those few characters might make a difference. We might be able to trim this down a little bit more, but I'd like to find one more trick, if we can somehow do this. One more trick before I remove white space, because that would really be helpful. 295, because we need to get 20 characters off of there. And these guys we don't know. We don't know for sure what they're doing, but 254 looks short. We had to figure that one out. But there's still some trick available to us in here before we remove white space. White space might actually be the 20 characters we want. And it's somehow, I think somebody figured out how to remove this up here, and we just don't know how to do that. And it has to be mutable ion codes. It's a critical thing. It has to be mutable. This Q2 here, it has to be mutable, as is Q3. But if you could do that, that would be great. I mean, but as far as I know, slices, can we modify a slice? I thought they were always read-only. We have this double print here, print line, print line. That's not much we can do with that. You can. So we can make a slice. Well, if you know how to make the slice out of this, I don't know how to do that, because that would certainly reduce it some more. But I don't know how to... My slice syntax is not so good. If you can make it mutable somehow. And we're really close to having tiny. Q2 plus equals S is probably... If you can think of slice, we can do that. Otherwise, I'll think if there's anything else we can possibly do here. Signum... let's do this. Where's Pasteman? Can I just throw it in gist? And give you the gist? Code.rs. There you go. Alright, what do we have? Signum, we can't... Is there a way to reduce this, get rid of the signum? How to reduce this to 0? There's no compact ternary in Rust. Ternary operations are really big with the if, then, else. But I wonder if it's actually shorter here. So we're at 295. 295. I know, because we had the 0 case, so that won't work. Looking for magic. Looking for magic now. There's not a lot much we can do. This is... Really? So that's not bad. Alright, well, if I can't figure anything out, we'll just do that. But I'd like to see if there's any more thing we could possibly figure out. Is there any way we could reduce this any more here? Because I'd really love to just get this just tinier somehow. You know what? Plus 1, minus 1. This adds 4. But removes 1, 2, 3, 4. So 290. So it saves nothing. That doesn't save us anything. But makes me happier. Yes, Random Thing Studio. See, what do you have? Yeah, okay. How can we get rid of this whole thing here? There's got to be some way here. Nothing. Nothing. Okay. There's lots of ways you can encode these patterns in Rust, but they all add space to it. Plus 1, minus 1. So we'd always be missing one here. So why would we get rid of this line? Okay, the read line won't work. We're minusing it. If we always had this off here, and we had some sort of counter. Nope, 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 nope. I'm just not seeing anything now. I think we're done. I think we have to just crunch up the space and get rid of it. We're out of options here, I think. Of that last change I made, which one's better to get rid of spaces? Can I pack as right beside a bracket? If I can, then that one gets rid of spaces better. It does. Let's just unindent everything first, and we'll do the new lines as the last thing we get rid of. Just in case we make a mistake, we can get at least some sanity checked here. That brings us down to 270. I think we're still fine with that. And are there any more white space? I missed one white space there. Loop could probably get rid of a white space. If probably not, let S. There's no more white spaces here. U size as short as it can be. Okay. We're still desperate for one last thing. What about commas? Can I evaluate this to a tuple instead? Does that save us anything? Does evaluating anything to a tuple rather than a statement help us here somehow? Obviously not. If. Alright. Let's pack it up. This is actually the part about golf I find is rather silly. I really wish they just had standard tools on the server that just did this white space cleanup, because I find this final step doesn't actually make it any better. And we must be saving with /r/n because we removed more space than what Euler said. We removed more than one character per line. So that gets us at 259. 259 will put us down to pretty good. 259 is going to put us pretty high. Oh, come on, dwarfy. No. No, there's 5 more characters to get rid of in there. And these guys, we're just going to assume they're cheating for no reason. We're just going to say these guys are cheating. And 259. But looking at the overall score, it's still 10,000 and 20,000. This doesn't even put you halfway through the thing. Yeah, Studio C. Euler was mentioning, though, that some of these top guys, they might be cheating. We don't know. If you make a system call and just call bash or a different language, you might be able to pack it in a bit more. But this just bugs me. Dwarfy got 5 characters off. How can we get 5 characters off? So Euler, we're happy. We're happy we're being Euler. He's probably not going to come back and fix the code. Just let us be happy. Or he's going to come back. If he comes back with 259, then we're giving him this angry face. Yeah, I mean, if I would like to know if these people are actually using standard out, that would actually be, I consider it to be cheating. But we don't know. We don't know what this code looks like. But we just have no way to reduce the overhead here. We have nothing left here to do. There must be... we just don't know if we can trim a few characters off. No, that won't work. Print doesn't work. I just think there's nothing left. I think we're done here. I think... I think that's it. Is anybody in chat? Well, what's the point of renaming? Because the rename line is going to take longer than using it just once, because we don't use any function more than once. So it won't help to actually rename it, because it's just going to add a little bit of text at the front. Does it have to be function main? Does it actually look for function main, or does it just look for anything? That would add a /n though, wouldn't it? So if I remove the ln and just put a /n at the end. Okay, I see what you're saying. The problem is that println is a macro. These are macros, which means I can't assign them to a variable. But maybe there is some way to print. Let's actually find out what println does. Print. What does print do? And I've got some device here making funny sounds. We need a way to write a single character to the output. That's all we really need, is how do we write a single character? Standard out. Well, if I'm going to replace print with standard out, that's not going to help. And write takes a whole wacky thing. But might it be shorter? No, there's no way that's shorter. That's just going to end up being longer. Now, guys, I don't see it. I think we're done. It's really unfortunate. Dwarfy has something more interesting than us, and we don't know how he did it. Well, the reason I'm thinking we get it smaller than print is that we're printing out one character. Right? Is there an equivalent of like put char or something? Right? And see, there'd be put char, and that would be delightful because that saves us a lot. But no, or put c, or putch. Because that would actually save us a little bit more, but there's nothing. And the sign num, like, there's just nothing left. We have overhead. And the overhead is mainly this splitting. Until, I'm guessing Dwarfy or one of those other guys found a way to get rid of the splitting. And... But then we need to import libc. Well, we can find out. But it's going to be longer. It's going to be longer than right here. Damn it. Let's find out. libc, put char. I hope they accept space in the output. Was this any shorter, though? That makes us longer. We're actually getting longer again, so no, that's not okay. $259 is still the best. Yeah. Yeah, Studio said it is longer, but I was hoping we could get rid of the formatting strings. But I don't see a way to get rid of these formatting strings, to get rid of this nonsense here. And... no, I just don't see it. Oh, Studio C. Oh, do you have an idea, or you just understood now? Yeah, okay, so... S is this converting to use size sucks. But alright, I think we're gonna leave it. I think we did well enough. We have 259. 259. That puts us 10,000 overall. But for Rust, we're gonna consider that we have one guy really beating us. We have Dwarfy, and Dwarfy found some trick. So congratulations to Dwarfy. Let's see what he's like. I'm going to follow him, or her, or whoever it is, and they're a grandmaster, so they've gone through this a lot, and we'll be following them, and they've been doing a bunch of different puzzles. And these two other people, I have this strange feeling that they did what Alicia Saul said, because it's really hard to see this big gap here. And the gaps are basically here is that this big code here, we did a bunch of reduction, we're using names and stuff. Ion codes are good for you, Grandmaster. We'll get there eventually. And we'll join you in the Grandmaster ranks. Okay, so I was saying, to get down to 300, I think it's mainly just cleaning up the code, little bits and pieces. The step here from 351 to 284, those are those of us who, thanks to Oyster's help, are doing the half cheat. Notice, realizing that he never goes north, and that reduces, that makes this big chunk here. So that all these people over 300, I guess, they're just not adjusting their code to ignore going north, because definitely, and that's exactly what made it for us. And we just packed it down here. We didn't use particular tricks. We just packed it down further. And Dwarfy found something. I'd be very curious to know what he did, because there's one thing in our code that we could probably remove, and we don't know what it is. And then we think this is probably the cheating threshold up here. And you probably, if you just go look at like the top bash solution, you can probably just do that, bash your Python, and just call a system command out on it and see what happens. But I think that's enough for us. We submitted this. Let's submit it again to see what goes next, and we should be okay. I don't know what we do next. I think we're just done with this one. I think I'm going to call it a short night tonight because I'm a bit tired. I'm a bit sick today, so that's all we have. We're still at the mentor level. That didn't get us any many points. We keep solving these things. Golf. Why do we have nothing for code golf? We get no points for that. We did all that work and we get 0 points for code golf. We're going to actually have to go do it in a different language, but this is for Rust show, so we're only going to do Rust. I don't care where I am on the ranks in the end. We were doing really good here. We know if we go back to multiplayer, multiplayer is where there's most points. If we simply create a multiplayer bot in all of the games, it gets calculated at night. Okay, so maybe we get some there. But I'm thinking if we just get multiplayer, we're probably going to get a bit higher. And next contest comes, that's in a month. We can't get any points here now. And you don't get any points for the practice mode, so we really just have to do more multiplayer. But I don't want to do one right now. Tron we know can optimize still. Coder Strike Back will be the next one. Let's just see what there is there, but I don't think I'm going to solve one today. So we have Mean Max. Code for Life may be the next one, that's the most recent one. Temperatures, if these, I'll see how many points we get for Power of Thor, because if we get any points, we might as well just go throw in our stupid solutions for Panic, then go solve temperatures as well, I think, because we already have the code for these, so we might as well just throw it in and get some points for it. And maybe do another golf. And then optimization, we don't know. Mars Lander, maybe we should revisit that again at some point. I'm not sure what we'll do. I probably won't be here tomorrow night, but hopefully Sunday night I'll be back. I'm not quite clear what I'm going to do on Sunday. Sunday night I'll be doing, or Sunday I'll be doing mainly Leaf for most of the day, adding error messages. If anybody's interested in watching me play around with the Leaf compiler, let me know. I'm not intending on streaming it, but if people really want to watch me look through a bunch of boring C++ code and replace a bunch of macros and play with Leaf, I can do that for you as well. Otherwise, it's been a good night. We did the code challenge. Thanks to Euler Shasala for giving us the hint in the north, because that saved us a lot. Sorry we pushed you a little bit down in the ranks, but that's good. And then I'll see you on Sunday night. And again, don't forget to subscribe, retweet, repush, share. Everything, it really helps. It actually really helps the show. The more subscribers we get, the more people we get, and the more traction we get also for Coding Game. Thank you very much, and I hope you enjoyed the show, and we'll see you next time.